Hey guys, welcome back to the Project Zero podcast. My name is Keon, and today we have a special guest, my friend he that I haven't talked to. What's up, Juan? How you doing, man?
What's up, Kian? Well, I'm doing well. It's a little bit early, but you know, I'm hanging in there.
Is that matcha that you're drinking?
Yes, it's a matcha green tea latte from Starbucks.
Dude, I
Very good.
love that one. Is that with almond milk or?
Normally for mine, I tend to put soy milk. Um, yeah.
Oh, I love soy milk. Now, do you get yours like 50% like sugar or 25%? Are you one of those customers where you like yours in a specific way?
No, I didn't even know there was like an option of sugar level, so that's good to know.
Yeah, because I would get mine from like Starbucks if I get my matcha latte, because that's the only thing I get. Other than like hot chocolate with oat milk,
Mhm.
but I would get matcha latte and it's just like I get like, oh, I request like, oh, can I get that? So 50% off. Well, not 50% off, but 50% sugar. Yeah. But bro, how you doing, dude? I haven't seen you since like 2019. I graduated. We took physiology together. What's the update?
So right now I'm in my second semester of nursing school. I'm currently doing my nursing program at Sac City, trying to finish my associates, and I'm also doing a dual enrollment through Grand Canyon and getting my RN to BSN. So that's kind of like what's going on right now.
What has been like the process like so far in nursing school? Because I have a friend that is in nursing school. Shout out to IRNL. She's I don't know, I forgot what school she goes to, but she's going to a private school. Um, what was the do you have a list of like the private school? Start with the U.
I mean, there's a bunch of private schools. It depends on the program that you're looking at. I know there's private schools that do ADNs, which are associates. Then you have programs that do bachelors. So it kind of depends, and it's quite a big list if you go through it. So I don't know if I know any universities that start with U, like in their first part of their name. Um,
I think it's C. I actually think it's C. Is it Cambridge? No, I forgot. Whatever. It is what. Yeah,
Chamberlain.
but she's been. What is it?
Chamberlain is the one that does it.
Chamberlain. Yes. She's going through Chamberlain. I think she'll be done by December. So yeah. How's it been for nursing school?
It's
Is
been
it?
tough. I will admit that there hasn't been a day where I'm not studying.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, I'll be studying for at least anywhere between 2 to sometimes 5 or 6 hours a day.
My
Um,
God.
just because, like, for my specific program, like it's not necessarily knowledge base. It's more like, can you apply the knowledge when you do exams or when you go to clinicals? And I mean, it's difficult, just because some of the questions will really test you, and like you'll have questions where it's like, oh, multiple answers could be correct, but what's the most correct answer? And so some of those questions can be a little bit confusing at times for a lot of students.
How's it different from like anatomy, just a normal anatomy and physiology class?
So
But
so for anatomy, like you have to identify a certain structure or like a system, and basically it's kind of like you can pass the class just by memorizing the stuff, right?
yeah.
And then same thing with physiology. Like if you know the process really well, then you can basically state it back. In nursing school, that's not the case. Like you can memorize all the information, right? But if you can't apply it to a real life situation, then the knowledge isn't necessarily helping you. It's more of like you start overthinking stuff, and then it's like, well, what should I do next kind of thing. Yeah.
So why did you choose the path of nursing? Because I know before you were thinking of like, oh, you want to be a doctor or a physician assistant. You know, you were kind of exploring that. I think now you wanted to be like a nurse NP, right? Nurse practitioner.
So the reason that I chose nursing over being a physician, one is that, if you go to medical school, like you have to spend 4 years in medical school and then you have to do a residency, right?
Yeah.
Medical school is not cheap.
Nope.
I know plenty of doctors that, go in debt somewhere in the 100 to 200K
Maybe
right
even
after.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Maybe a lot
overall.
more. And then when you start residency, most residents tend to only make about 50K starting off. So it doesn't necessarily help in paying off that debt.
Yeah, plus some of the residents, you know, they start their family at that time because at that point, you know, they may be old or they may be at that age where it's like they're 35 or 37, more in the older side. Because at Kaiser nowadays, I see a lot of doctors that are young. We have some young doctors. I'm just like, damn, yeah. Um, I saw like this is I have a crush on this one doctor. I think she's young. I don't know how old she is. I don't want, I mean, I'm too shy to ask, but
The one that's in there.
yeah, she's like pretty sure she's younger, like in her early 30s. I'm
Mm.
just like, damn, this is crazy. Like they probably studied a lot. They probably spent their whole 20s just studying and studying and studying, you know, taking the MCAT. What else do you take? Like GRE, something like that?
No.
DT, you take that?
So GRE is more for PA school.
Oh.
Um, and then PA school itself is normally it's only a 2 to 3 year program. And then you go into like maybe like a 1 year residency. PA school is a little bit, I wouldn't say easier, but it'll get you faster into the hospital. And then the benefits of being a PA over a physician is that you can switch departments or units at any time. Whereas in a doctor or a physician, you kind of have to specialize in one thing, and that's kind of just your thing. Like you've already chosen it, you can't necessarily move because you've had all this training, and normally doctors don't want to move for the most part. Um, I mean, for me, like knowing that I'm currently 28, and if I wanted to do medical school, I'd be looking at possibly graduating at 32.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I wanted to do cardiology, I would have to spend an additional 4 years in residency before I can actually be, an attendee.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's a difference between being a resident and being an attendee. So an attending doctor is basically a doctor that's already gone through all this specialized training and can basically train residents at this point. Like they're the leading doctor. Um, they're the ones that usually are in charge of a medical team and sign off on patient medications, that kind of stuff. And those are the doctors that make the big bucks. Um, but I mean, this would be me at like 36, and I'd be like, well, I want to enjoy life a little, right?
Yeah, yeah. So why did you choose the path of nursing? Like, is there like you want to care for people? I mean, is it the money? Is it what is it?
So most nursing programs take about anywhere between 2 to 4, depending on what you do or which path you take.
Yeah.
And on average, a doctor spends maybe like at most, I want to say 20 minutes in a patient room throughout the entirety of the day, just because, they have so many patients. Whereas in a nurse, you're basically having to be with the patient most of the time. So for nurses, most shifts are anywhere between 8 to 12 hours. That's like their normal scheduled hours.
Mm-hmm.
And, as a nurse, this is the time that you basically use to help take care of them. Um, there's a quote, well, one of my classmates quoted this about nurses, and I feel like it really hit. But our job as a nurse isn't necessarily to like cure the patient, it's to make them have a better day to day.
Mm.
So that's kind of where I feel like I like nursing. Like, yes, you take care of a patient, but the thing about nursing is that we try to make their days. Like most of the time, patients come in, they're in a lot of pain, and our job is basically to try to make that better. And that could go either by, giving them medication, helping them learn different kind of techniques to basically manage that pain a little bit better. And I think that's kind of what called to me about nursing is that there are so many ways that you can necessarily help a patient without having to give them medication all the time.
So, but there's also a part where you create like a bond with your patient,
Mhm.
right? And that bond can kind of, if that patient ever like passed away, wouldn't that kind of takes a toll on a lot of nurses or in nursing in general, right? I would
Yeah.
think so.
So one of the things that my instructor said to me was that if you become a nurse, yes, you want to help a lot of patients through their traumatic experiences. And yes, it can be sad. But as a nurse, you want to make sure that, you're emotionally there for the patient because that's kind of your job. And if things do get sad, you don't want to be that nurse where it's like the patient has to take care of you because they're already going through a lot and
Yeah.
taking care of you is not their responsibility. It's the other way around. Uh,
Yeah.
but yes, as a nurse, you kind of have to be able to be that emotional pillar for your patient, and not only for your patient, for their family as well.
Yeah, especially throughout last year when they only allow, at least where I work at, they only allow like they didn't allow any visitor at all
Mhm.
for the longest time, and I just felt really bad for the patient because they need like attention and they need somebody to talk to, and I would think that they would like they're depressed or anxiety, which doesn't really help their condition and whatever disease or whatever diagnosis they have, right? I feel like it'll make it worse. But if there's someone there that is supportive, like a family that supports them, even one person, it would be better because it kind of I would think it will motivate them to kind of get better so that they can go home and be with their family. But now they're doing just one person, but throughout that past year, I'm just like, man, I feel so bad for these patients because I see them as part of my job. I see them because I would deliver walkers and nebulizers and stuff like that. I go into hospital floors and I'm just like, man, I see these patients' faces and they're just like super, super sad and just depressed. And I feel like they're just like they don't want to live anymore at that point because there's nobody supporting them. There's only the maybe iPad if they can even use it, if they can even hold it, because otherwise they're just laying there. They're either watching TV or they're just resting, sleeping, or they're just looking at the top of the ceiling, or maybe they're reading books. But some of the patients that I see, they can't even move because of their diagnosis. So I think I felt really bad for them throughout those year. But I get the regulations of with the COVID, so that it can minimize the exposure to to kind of spreading COVID-19. But man, it was bad. I mean, I know you work at the hospital floor. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, for the longest time, as you said, we didn't allow patients either. And then, like, even we use anything between an iPad or like an iPhone just so that patients can use, either Zoom or some kind of video call to call their family. But even then, unless the nurse or a CNA is actually available to do that for them, um, there are days where a lot of patients ask for it, and sometimes that's just not possible just because, you have a lot of patients that want to be able to talk to their family. And so something that we try to do is we try to schedule out some of the equipment for like an hour, just so that, patients have a way to talk to their family. Because, yeah, you're right. Like some of these patients, they spend hours alone in the hospital. And yeah, they're sad, they're in pain. Most of them are scared about like the stuff that's going on with them. And some can't even vocalize that. So it's like just having the option to FaceTime family members is that time that they can use to be with someone that, that they care about, and that helps make them feel better through this like process of getting better.
Yeah. Dude, do you remember when we had physiology? How did we meet? Like for physiology? I forgot. How
Um,
did was
we
it like
sat one seat away from each other on the first day, and then I think that's just how we met. We just talked to each other about
we
it was
just clicked?
yeah.
We just clicked. Like I feel like we were just meant to freaking talk to each other. I don't know, dude. That class, dude, that was fun. That was a fun class. We had a group to study. We did honestly without you and maybe Kurt and Cody, right? The other guy. Man, I would have not got a good grade in physiology. Dude, I was like super pumped because I get, throughout our group meetings, we would, meet together in the library, and I would just be like, there's no motivation for me to like study. But when I'm in the group, I'm just like, all right, here's what I know. I mean, I study by myself, but so that I can like kind of provide value to, when we meet as a group
Mhm.
and do our boards,
Yeah.
stuff thing discussion and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I was just super pumped whenever we meet because it's just fun for me. Because sometimes I joke around. I feel like Kurt was too serious sometimes. So
I
I'm
agree.
just like that type of guy who like kind of went to ease. I mean, I'm studying and stuff like that,
Mhm.
but I don't like when I feel everybody's serious. I feel like there's pressure in the room. I like when I put a little humor in there, joke around a little bit. I think that's just me in general. Do you have any do you remember anything throughout that class that we took? Like any best moments? I know I have a story to tell because I actually have a video of you sleeping in class,
Wow. Oh, what?
falling
Yeah,
falling asleep in class.
I am sorry. Some of the topics felt like review. I couldn't help it. I do have a video of one of our study sessions where we end up, jamming out to music. I don't know if you remember those.
I don't remember it. I mean I'm trying to remember it, but I don't remember it. It's been like 2 years. I
Mhm.
mean, it's been. I just know. I just remember that we had a good time. I mean, we even went to Kiki's Chicken.
Yes, we did.
Where else do we? I mean, we would always go to like eat some tacos, right?
Yeah,
Just across the street.
with the group. Yeah.
Yeah, with the group, or sometimes it was just me and you.
Hey, I get hungry after that class, or
Yeah,
after, before.
before and after,
Yeah.
because that class gets it does gets boring sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Now that explains the sleeping. Yeah.
Who was like the smartest one in their class at that time? There was this one pretty girl, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yes, I do know who you're
I
talking
forgot what's her name, but damn, she's pretty. But she's tall and she has a boyfriend. But I just thought she was pretty. But was she the smartest one?
about. I don't know.
I
Um,
thought I thought you were the smartest one in class. I was like, I think one is the smartest one.
I want to say it was between me and someone else. I think it was between me and that girl. Yeah.
Yeah, because I would ask you like a lot of questions and stuff like that, and it's like, I mean, without you, I'm just like clueless. I wouldn't learn.
Someone in the group has to know this stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, our professor was I just he always talk about ego. I feel like he has a lot of ego, like being a doctor.
Yes. Uh, I can't say much about that. Yes, he definitely had quite a bit of pride. Um, and there were plenty of times where I feel like that pride kind of he kind of exuded that on his students and
Hmm.
made some of them feel bad. Like, why
Yeah,
are you even asking that question, kind of thing.
yeah.
So,
Wait, I was trying to I was trying to remember before this, right? Before this podcast. I was trying to remember when was like what did we do the last day? We took a test. Did we took like a cumulative test, like a final test, or we had to know from the beginning to the end of of our class? I was trying to remember how we part ways. Like it's so long. Like we haven't even hang out because of probably COVID, and plus you're in nursing school. You're busy all the time.
yeah.
So
I want to say that it did end with a cumulative test, and I mean, I feel like it was pretty basic. Um, I don't feel like there was that many like specific questions about stuff, but yeah, I thought we did something afterwards to celebrate, and then we went our separate ways. I don't
did
remember.
we? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now I was kind of a little bit coming back. Did we do something? Maybe we did, but we haven't. I haven't heard from.
And then we were good after that.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything from Kirk or Cody. I mean, I stayed with you because I just I just like you.
Oh,
You
you
know,
missed
I
me?
just
Cool.
yes, I miss you. I just thought you
Oh,
were
thank you, sir. Thank you.
you're my friend, but I understand that you're busy and you have your own life, and
Oh,
although you only live
thank you.
like I don't know, like 30 minutes away from me.
That is true.
Hello. Are
Oh,
you still living in Sac?
yep. I'm still living here in Sac. I'm still living with my boyfriend. So things are going well.
Same house?
Yes.
Do you have roommates?
So aside from my BF, I also have one other roommate. So we live in a 3 bedroom, 2 bath house. Um, me and my boyfriend stay in one room, and then we have our one of our housemates who has been a longtime friend back when I was in Davis and Sac State. He rents out one of the other rooms.
Oh, did you know I moved from my mom's house?
I did not. What?
And did you also know I don't have a girlfriend anymore?
That I did. We did talk about that.
Yes, yes, I broke up with her in November, early November. But yeah, I moved out of my mom's house on October. So now I'm living with other roommates as well
Mhm.
in Rockland.
Okay.
Yeah, in a 5 bedroom, 3 bath house. It's pretty big. There's six of us here because two of them are married.
Hmm.
So, but they're young. They're 24 and 20. And
Just
they're
way better than me.
yeah. Then they, they're married, and yeah, there's six of us here and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been a crazy year. I think. What do you think 2020 was? Do you think it was like the best or the worst year of your life so far, or?
Well, I can't say I agree with either being good or bad. I think it was an all right year. Mainly because, because of COVID, we definitely got more hours at the hospital, higher pay just because of the hazard pay.
We didn't get a hazard pay. I think the other nurses who was exposed to COVID, who was working with COVID patients, got a hazard pay. But nevertheless, I can't complain. But go. I don't know, what were you saying?
I mean, so those were some of the good aspects. Bad aspects is, you couldn't socialize as much. Classrooms went virtual, which, cut out some of those good moments at the library that you can have, studying with people.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean,
What do you think about those virtual? I'm so glad I graduated in 2019 because I didn't have to go through virtual classes. 'Cause otherwise, I would be sleeping in my bed. I would be lazy as hell, and I would not pay attention to the teacher or professors. I felt really bad, kind of bad for people people who went to school throughout these times because first they graduate like going to car or like drive through graduation stuff like that or virtual graduation, like that's not the same as physical graduation. I mean, obviously they can't do anything about it because of the pandemic. But what do you think about the those, on that specific subject where people are not making, relationship with other classmates?
So, I mean, for younger folks, it's definitely taken a toll. Um, my boyfriend's a teacher, and so one of the things that we talked about is for some K through 12 students, some like if it was in person, you would expect some students to be behind by about maybe like 6 months in material, like knowledge wise. But now that everything's virtual, um, one of the things that we discussed is that conceptually, a lot of the students are sometimes behind in like maybe a year's worth of material or sometimes 2 years worth of material. And that takes a toll on not only the students, but the teachers as well, because sometimes they'll have to go back and basically relearn or reteach all that. Um, for college students, I know that virtual learning is a little bit more accessible, right? Just because, yes, there are times where you have to be present for the class, but there's a lot of classes where it's asynchronous. And so all you really have to do is basically, the teacher will record lectures, you just have to watch them and complete assignments on that. And so that frees up a lot of time. But if you don't know the material, then it can be pretty difficult getting in contact with some of your classmates so that you guys can study together.
Hmm.
Or sometimes you just have to try to schedule things with your professor as best as possible. Um, and I know also that some of the school resources have been pretty limited just because, a lot of the campuses have been closed. And so sometimes you'll just have people trying to work from home, and sometimes that can be tough.
Yeah.
Um,
And they get bored too, right? Like there's no communication. Like you get bored when you're working at home, I feel like. I mean, I know some people prefer it. They don't want to be in the cubicle or they just want to they just want to feel at home or but it's so easy to just like look at your bed and just lay down there and just forget about work and stuff like that. Instead of like communicating with having bond time with your coworkers or classmates, whether you're in school or you're an admin, um, working. I mean, it's crazy, right?
yeah, and I mean, so here's a situation that happened to me last semester, right?
Yeah.
So because we're a nursing program, we were actually allowed to go on campus, and we were basically like the only department there, right? Um, well, for half of the semester, the internet on campus was down because they the campus didn't think anyone would be on campus. Literally, our program director, our department chair had to talk to the dean and the board to be able to approve us to go on campus. But I guess IT didn't necessarily get the memo. And so we ended up sending a bunch of emails, like the Wi-Fi is down, why is it not working? And at a lot of times when we contacted the tech, they would always have us, reset our devices because I guess our devices were the problem. They weren't. The campus just forgot to turn on the Wi-Fi for us, and so I'm pretty sure a lot of my professors burned through some of their cellular data getting their lecture material whenever we had to be on campus.
So aside from that problem, what do you think some of the nursing students that they face throughout? you just in general, whether it's, this past year or what you're going through, what are the struggles that the future nursing student should be expecting since you're in school?
Um, well, so I know because of COVID, expect your class size to be smaller than usual. Um, I know the last few classes, or the ones that are ahead of me, third and fourth semester, they have about 30 to 35 students each, right?
Mm-hmm.
But starting my class and then the ones that are following, most of their class sizes has basically dropped down to about 20 students just to be able to accommodate them in a classroom. And just that drop in class size, you kind of have to think about it. It's like it makes getting into nursing school a lot harder. Instead of fighting for one of the spots in 30 seats, you're fighting for 20 now. So, you know, it's a lot harder to get into nursing school because of COVID, just because a lot of programs want to keep sizes small. Um, there's that.
Which will be a lot more competitive for people to even get in.
Hmm.
I mean, do you need to have like high grades, like straight A's on your anatomy, physiology, your prereqs to even get in? Because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of competition because probably a lot of people are going to have that grade. So how? My question is like, how do you determine which person to pick, which student to pick on that program, nursing
So
program? Like, what do you think?
kind of depends. There are a lot of pathways into nursing. There's obviously the top two would be either to get into an associate's program or get into a bachelor's program. Most bachelor's programs are merit based, so they'll take a look at your GPA, at basically your hospital experiences, any extracurriculars that you do, that kind of stuff. And that's where your grade really matters. Like the GPA matters in those circumstances. So, having those A's and those B's, those will definitely help you out when you go apply for a bachelor's. That's not so true when you go for an ADN program or an associate's program. So they're more lottery based. And so they have a point system. Most associate programs will take into account not only your GPA, they'll also take into account how well you do on the TEAS test as well. Most programs have like a minimum grade that you need to get. And I want to say for Sac City, it's a 70 or above. Um, and then they also take into account, are there any extraneous situations that you are dealing with? Like, are you in disability? Are you a military veteran? Are you Spanish speaking? That kind of stuff. And they'll give you points for that as well. At the end of that screening, you have to meet a minimum, which for Sac City, it's, I believe, 72 and above. And basically, they'll put your name in a lottery system. And that's kind of how it goes for a lot of associate programs. Like if you get picked out of a lottery system, then you're basically in the program. And at that point, you have certain little prerequisites that you have to meet, like you have to get your immunization record up to date. You may have to make sure that you have your basic life support license all set. And you take a couple of in training videos that you have to basically complete, such as you have to educate yourself on HIPAA, which basically that's just patient confidentiality stuff. And you have to be able to educate yourself on bloodborne pathogens and how to avoid getting infected by those. So once you've completed all that, that's when you actually start into the program.
Hmm. That is pretty crazy ride. I mean, I looked at, when I was thinking to be a nurse, but I don't want to do that anymore. That's for sure. No, nothing against nurses. I love them. I see them every day at work. I work with them at work. But man, it's a process for nursing. for nursing students, for just nursing in general, just dealing with just the past year and just dealing in general. So before I end this podcast, I want to ask you 3 questions, just fun questions.
Okay.
What is your favorite food?
Damn, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm a foodie myself. Definitely tacos. I cannot reject.
I had a feeling you were gonna say tacos for some reason.
Hey, they're awesome. They're amazing, and they come in
No,
different flavors.
no, don't get me wrong. We're hella good. Like, oh my God, don't even get me started with those tacos, especially the street tacos. I've been watching too much videos sometimes. And what do you like? What's your plan in the future?
So after I am done with nursing school,
Hmm.
I'm actually planning to probably apply into a NICU. So basically, it's an ICU for neonates, which what that means is I'll basically be working with babies that have to go into the ICU. And I'll most likely be doing that for either 2 to 3 years before I apply to a nurse practitioner program.
Mm,
At least that's the plan for now.
okay. And the last question: when the hell are we gonna hang out?
Whoa. That is a good question. I mean, I do have some free time over the summer if you want to meet.
Over the summer?
Yes, over the summer.
Let's go eat out, like maybe like Korean barbecue or get some tacos. You live in Sacramento. Have you been to Taku?
Oh, the mix between the Korean and Mexican? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've only been there 3 times.
3 times.
Just because friends. Yeah.
I've been there twice. Wow. No, they're really good.
Hmm. They have a very unique flavor, like a very good twist to the food.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Juan, thank you for this doing this podcast. I know your time is very valuable, and I haven't talked to you in a while, so hopefully this podcast is a good time to catch up, or it was a good time to catch up. So I really appreciate your time, and thank you for to whoever's listening and watching this video. See you guys later. Peace.